Hello and welcome back to another Giant Slayer TFT ranked meta video. Our analysts are here to go through the 10.7 meta for each stage of the game. This patch is special as it introduces the new mechanic of the set, galaxies. There will be a section for the galaxies before moving into the usual breakdown of the meta. Let's get right to it. But before we begin, please don't forget to click the links in our description. Give your support to everyone who helped make this video happen. We host many TFT tournaments with plenty of exciting content to come, so be sure to also follow our Giant Slayer TFT social media pages. All right, back to the video, and let's preface this really quickly that this will be a broad look at each galaxy. These galaxies definitely shake up the game when they spawn in, but since they don't happen every game, we won't go super in depth in this section. With that said, let's start with the Lilac Nebula. The Lilac Nebula galaxy is probably the most controversial due to the variance in power level of the 4-cost champions. Aurelia, Kale, and to a lesser extent Jin can all be insanely powerful early game and make for an easy win streak. Whereas if you get stuck with a champion like Soraka, you're going to be a bit sad and likely just sell her for the 4 gold. In general, for this galaxy, if you get one of the better champions, you can stick them in and play a composition off of it, but scouting and being flexible is always preferable. As mentioned, Kale and Aurelia are most likely to net you a win streak, which means building a composition around them is much easier since you'll have plenty of gold to level to 7 and 8. Cho'Gath and Vel'Koz can be kept to play either a void composition or something using Brawler, but it's completely fine to sell any champion that isn't Kale, Aurelia, or Jin. Next up, let's do a little quickie on the Nekoverse. Because you begin with 2 Nekos help, the current strategy is rather one-dimensional, as you want to save them for an early 2-star 4-cost champion, 2-star legendary, or save it to hit a quicker 3-star champion. In the current meta, mostly everyone holds on to them for one of those 3 scenarios. And the last galaxy is Medium Legends. This galaxy basically guarantees most players a 3-star champion as the game goes just a bit longer than normal, and that opens up the possibility for most of the players to get some kind of 3-star. Slow roll compositions are quite good for this galaxy since you have extra health to greed roll for 3 stars. If you're playing a normal non-slow composition like say Jin carry or cybernetics, you'll also have more health to roll for the 3-star 4-cost champions. And now it's time for the early game. First up, let's talk with the beginning carousel. Keep in mind this is a scenario where it's a normal carousel. This is not taking into account special item carousels or when it's Lilac Nebula Galaxy, as those are special cases for the beginning carousel. Some of the best components off the first carousel currently are sword, tier, rod, and chain vest, but every component can be made into something useful, so don't be too worried if you don't get one of those 4. Sword makes it into most of the physical carry items such as Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, and Deathblade, with Guardian Angel being one of the most sought after items overall. It's one of the better components to grab if you have any intention of running a physical carry like Jin or Shaco, but getting it solely for making it into a Guardian Angel is perfectly fine. Chain Vest also builds into Guardian Angel, making it always a worthwhile pickup. Besides that, it makes into several strong items like Bramble Vest, Red Buff, and Titan's Resolve. Titans has picked up traction as a decent item since it works well on the Super Mech and in Protector for Xin Zhao. Bramble is always a good option, and Red Buff can do a ton of work early game on a champion like Lucian. Tiers can be made into several fantastic items like Seraph's Hand of Justice and Static Shiv. Static Shiv was buffed in 10.7 and does fairly well early game and transitions easily into Cybernetics or Kale carry later on. Seraph's is one of the more versatile items since it can go on Kai'Sa, Syndra, or Vel'Koz in 3 distinctly different compositions. And Hand of Justice continues to be a solid choice for any carry champion. And the last component to go over is Rod. Rod is the secondary choice to a tier since they are both used in similar compositions. Deathcap, Morellonomicon, Ionic Spark, and Demolitionist Charge are all great choices to use your Rod for depending on what composition you're playing. Demolitionist Charge can be difficult to procure due to needing a spatula, but if you're able to get it, it's fantastic on Kai'Sa and Mech Infiltrator. Before we talk about leveling and economy, let's touch on a few early game champions and traits. Upgraded Cybernetics, Rebels, and Blade Masters can all be strong early traits to look for if you're able to get 2-star champions for them. Space Pirates are a great way to get extra gold even in situations where you're unable to get on a win or lose streak. A few good champions to look for include Xayah as a physical item carry, Twisted Fate as a magic item carry, and Lucian with red buffs and cybernetics. Malphite is also one of the stronger solo options when it comes to a front line, though early vanguards can serve well enough buff as your frontline too. In general, you just want to grab the upgrades that the game gives you. Moving along, let's talk about economy and leveling early game. Streaking is still one of the most important aspects of the game to focus on, since it nets you so much gold when you can maintain it for a long period of time. So your goal is either to win until at least Krugs or lose until at least Krugs. Determining that is kind of up to how lucky you are early on. If you can hit a lot of good 2-star champions, then great. If you're struggling to get any upgrades, then it may just be best to lose streak. As for leveling, that again depends on the situation you're in. Win streaking means you want to push your advantage and be aggressive to maintain the streak, so you'll want to level to either 2-1 or 2-2, and again on 2-5. From there, you're likely to level again on 3-2. If you're on a loss streak, then you want to save gold and not level until Krugs or naturally on 3-2. Level 6 timings vary, so don't focus too much on hitting it exactly at 3-2, as you can just wait. Quickly hitting 50 gold is still the gold standard for the economy right now, regardless of the composition you're playing. Maintaining a streak and being picky with what champions you buy are the best ways to get there in the early game. Time to move on to the mid game, which has several play styles you can choose to go for. The overall goal of these styles is to get 50 gold and sit on it. Some compositions will look towards level 8 and others will stick on a certain level and slow roll their excess gold. There's a ton of builds right now in the meta, so let's just focus on a few. We'll go over Cybernetics, which is the fast 8 build, Star Guardian Sorcerer, which is a level 7 slow roll build, and Mech Infiltrator, which is a slow roll level 6 build. First up is Cybernetics. This variation uses all 6 Cybernetics as the core champions, with Kale and Misfortune added to give Blademaster, Valkyrie, and Blaster. It's also one of the variations where Kale can be the carry, in which case you'd itemize her instead of Aurelia. The second variation still uses 6 Cybernetics as the core champions, but replaces Kale and Misfortune to add in 2 Chrono and Mana Reaver with Thresh and Shen. With the rework to Mana Reaver, it's a great trade to add in when playing Aurelia. Overall, your goal with Cybernetics is to get to a fast level 8. Generally, this means around stage 4-3, though it can be slightly earlier or later depending on your economy. From there, you're rolling for Echo and Aurelia 2 if you don't have her level 2 yet. Echo is the main reason why this composition has to go fast 8, as you can't run 6 Cybernetics without him. Items can be almost anything for this build, but stacking Infinity Edge with Guardian Angel on Aurelia turns her into an absolute beast. If you have a spatula, then you can make her into an infiltrator to give her easy access to the enemy backline. Echo works well with on-hit items such as Static Shiv, Morellonomicon, and Giant Slayer. AP items like Death Cap are also viable. Red buff is the best item for Lucian, and any spare components after that are given to Vi, Leona, and Fiora. Next up is Star Guardian Sorcerer. It's quite simple, as your goal is to get to level 7 and find all of the Star Guardians with an extra Sorcerer. Lux is currently the best option, as she provides decent CC. Early game, if you're finding a fair amount of Star Guardians such as Ahri or Syndra, it's usually a good indicator to go for this build. Items are insanely important, so don't commit to this build if you don't have them. These items are Seraphs, Death Cap, and Guardian Angel. Death Cap can be flexible, but you really want Seraphs for Syndra and Guardian Angel for Neeko, as those two are the cornerstones for this build. Ahri is a decent secondary carry, but Syndra is the main powerhouse of this build, and the stalling that Neeko provides is insanely important. Ionic Spark and defensive items are great choices as extra items for Neeko, and Syndra can be given a defensive third item like Guardian Angel or Quicksilver. A second Seraphs can also be a decent choice, as she'll cast even more when given it. The general strategy around this build is to simply roll excess gold when you're at level 7. You're looking for a Syndra 3 and a Neeko 3, but if you get an Ahri 3, that's fine as well. Make sure you're scouting around 3-1 or 3-2, and every few rounds after that before you commit to this build, because multiple people contesting it makes it way more difficult to get the 3-star versions of your champions. After you hit the 3-star versions of your champions, you can level and play Mystic at 8 or 6 Sorcerer if you have either a Force of Nature or Star Guardian Spatula. And the last composition to talk about is Mech Infiltrator. It's currently one of the strongest composition and is likely one of the easiest to run, as all you need to do is get to level 6. From there, you just find the core champions, which are Annie, Fizz, and Rumble for the mech pilots, and Kaisa, Shaco, and either Kha'Zix or Echo to round out the infiltrators. From there, once you're at 50 gold, simply roll your excess gold every round with the intention to hit Annie 3, Rumble 3, Kaisa 3, and Shaco 3. After that, you can level and add in either Demolitionist or a second Sorcerer or Mystic. Items can be flexible, as it depends on what the game gives you. If you're getting a lot of swords, it's best to play for Shaco carry with Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, and Guardian Angel being the best 3 items for him. If you get hit tiers and rods, you can go Kaisa carry, give her a Seraphs, Morellonomicon, and if possible, a Demolitionist charge. The Super Mech works well with defensive items like Bramble Vest, Warmogs, and Titan's Resolve. And that is all for the mid-game. Most compositions tend to fall into either slow roll or get to level 8, so the builds we talked about should provide enough of a base to work with other builds. Other compositions you can play include Void Brawler, Brawler Blaster, Jin Carry, which can be either Vanguard or Darkstar variations, Kale Carry, which can be either Cybernetic or Chrono variations, and Protector Mystic. There's still more potential builds than the ones listed, but those are the most common ones in the current meta. Let's move on and talk about the late game. This is around stage 5 after Raptors. Most compositions at this point should have hit the major upgrades for their compositions, such as a few 3 stars for slow roll builds and finding all the necessary champions for the fast 8 builds. From here, it comes down to a few things. 1 is continuing to roll for upgrades, and 2 is leveling and adding in splash traits or champions. Set 3 has made it easier than ever to hit 3-star champions, including 4 costs. For any non-slow roll build, such as Cybernetics, a goal you can have late game is to look to 3-star your 4-cost champion. Only do this if you're not being contested, as it's very easy to be blocked by others. The most commonly 3-starred 4-cost champions are Aurelia, Jin, and Vel'Koz. If you're playing any of the builds that use them and you can get the level 3 version, then your chances of getting 1st or 2nd increase dramatically. For slow roll builds, your goal is to continue to hit 3-star champions you haven't already. The second late game style is simply leveling and playing good splash traits or champions. It's harder for slow roll builds to do this, as most of them will cap at level 8, as getting to 9 will be just too costly. For other builds, they should easily be able to get to level 9 if they aren't bleeding health every round. Overall, some of the best champions to play late game are legendary champions. Lulu is one of the strongest due to her ultimate and making it really easy to splash in Mystic. Thresh provides both Chrono and Mana Reaver, which complement a lot of current meta builds, and on top of that, his ultimate can be quite decent if you have upgraded champions sitting on your bench. Lastly, you can put in either Gangplank or Misfortune if you're looking for additional AoE, though Misfortune is likely the better choice unless you're running Demolitionist for Gangplank. The last aspect of the late game is mostly about positioning and scouting. Always scout each round to check the positioning of other players and adjust your positioning as needed. Keep track of who you've played, as you can generally tell who you're going to play or likely to play from that. Zephyr, Blitzcrank, and Infiltrators are the top 3 to watch out for late game, as they can really mess you up if you're not paying attention. That is all for today's video, folks. We hope this breakdown of the ranked meta will help you climb in the last few days before the new patch hits. Let us know in the comment section below how your ranked climb is going and what you're looking forward to in patch 10.8. Thank you for watching, and if you're enjoying our content, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for future Giant Slayer TFT videos.